Welcome to the Rotary Club of York. We are change makers committed to service above self and honoring the four-way test. If you haven't already done so, please take a moment to silence your cell phones. President-elect nominee Aaron Jacobs will lead us in our opening song, America, My Country 'Tis of Thee, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Michael Reichman will offer the invocation, and Bernice Quisenberry will introduce our visitors.
Thank you, President Jackie. Rotarians, please join me. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the Pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon, Rotarians. Before we begin today's invocation, I'm sure many of you watched or read about this weekend's horrific hostage standoff at Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas. Coincidentally, Monday was also Martin Luther King Day, and Martin Luther King would frequently speak of the Jews in solidarity. I quote, "Probably more than any other ethnic group, the Jewish community has been sympathetic and stood as an ally to the Negro in his struggle for justice. Our unity is born of our common struggle for centuries and to make oppression of any people by others an impossibility." So with that in mind, please join me in a brief word of prayer. May we never take for granted the ability to freely pursue our own beliefs and interests without the threat of violence. May we implement the principles of Rotary and its four-way test to find appreciation in all peaceful associations forged in harmony and work to spread that peace to all in our community. Amen.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I am pleased to have the honor of introducing our guests for today's meeting. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing until President Jackie has welcomed you. Casey Nixon, visitor from the York North Club. Guest of Austin Schenk is John Langle. Guests of the club are Gary Hayes, Paula Hayes, Jerry Holly, and Scott Holly. Guests of the YCEA are as follows: Marlena Schutt, Mark Kurse, David Gonzalez, Felicia Dennis, Julio Maradiga, Alva Smith, Brendan Salyards, Catherine Rauch, Jaxie Rodriguez, Nona Watson, Amy Hughes, and Elliot Haug. Guest of Brian Grimm is Trent Davis. Michael Mudrow is guest of our membership.
Welcome. It is so wonderful to see all of your faces today. We're so glad that you could join us. Trent, wonderful to have you back with us. We understand you'll be joining again very soon. Police Commissioner Muldrow, great to have you with us too. And we look forward to having you as a member soon too. And that goes for all of you. Anyone wanting to get an application before you leave, we can make that happen. We hope you find this program today very enjoyable and informative, and that you'll visit us again often. Rotarians, please help me welcome our visitors. Thank you. Many of you may remember a longtime Rotarian, Steve Stock, his wife Deb Stock, the former CEO of YWCA, was also a longtime member of our club. Sadly, Steve Stock passed away this past week. And so I'd ask that you keep his family in your prayers in the coming days and weeks. The CEF board will meet following our meeting today in the wine room. The Service Above Self Committee meets tomorrow at 11 a.m. via Zoom. The Youth Exchange Committee meets tomorrow at noon via Zoom. The IDEA Committee will meet on Monday, January 24th at 8 a.m. via Zoom. The Literacy Committee and the Lend a Hand committees are holding a joint meeting on the 24th at 3 p.m. via Zoom. We have a lot of room left for our offsite meeting next Wednesday at Keystone Kids Space. And I would encourage you to call the office or email them your plans for attending that meeting next week. If you want to know more about the Kids Space location before you go, talk to Kelly Gibson. She held her annual meeting for the Cultural Alliance there and just had a fabulous experience. So please consider making reservations and bringing guests to that program next week. And now for a member moment. Richard Kunkel is an attorney with CGA Law Firm, where he's been practicing law for the past 17 years, specializing in family, estate, and real estate law. He decided on a law career while he was in high school at William Penn, and he went on to finish his degree at Dickinson and Widener. He likes law because he enjoys helping people and finds that there's something new every single day. Richard is also an accomplished musician. He began playing cello in the 4th grade and has been with the York Symphony for over 29 years. This Saturday, their concert will feature music from the renowned movie composer, John Williams. So the audience will be treated to the theme songs from Star Wars, Schindler's List, Jaws, E.T., and Jurassic Park. And there will be lots of great classical concerts coming up in the coming weeks as well. But if you want to go a little rock and roll, the music of Queen will be played on March the 12th, and all of these concerts are, of course, at the Appel Center. When he isn't practicing law or playing cello, he is knee-deep in genealogy research. He's dedicated years to studying records of his ancestors and has a particular interest in German immigrants. He discovered that some of his ancestors descend from Quaker and Welsh gentry, dating way back to King John and King Henry I. Richard taught himself Old German script, which has been used for centuries, and yet many historians can't read it. He's active with the South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Society and has served as their president. He's also been a past board member of the History Center. Richard is named after his grandfather on his father's side, who lived in Germany and brought his family to America when they were displaced after the war upon invitation by Lois Martin of Martin's Rolls. She evidently did a lot of corresponding with the family and sent care packages and invited them to come live in the United States in Chambersburg, which they did. When Richard's father met his mother, they settled in New York, and his dad taught German at Dover for 35 years. Richard's grandfather on his mother's side fought in the Second World War under General Patton in the North African campaign, where he received a Silver Star for his service. He's active in his church at St. James Lutheran. He enjoys travel and has been to Germany, Austria, France, and Italy, as well as England multiple times with a lawyers group called the Inns of Court, which convenes in London. He joined Rotary because he wanted to be part of it from the very, very first visit. Rotary enables him to know what's going on in the community and to stay connected. He says you never stop learning, and the weekly programs provide the opportunity to learn more about community issues. He feels that Rotary is a very important part of his life, and we are very glad that it is. Richard, thank you. And now, past President Josh George with a new member induction.
Thank you, President Jackie. I've had a distinct pleasure of being up here at the podium a lot lately to introduce new members. Really great to do so, but I do understand that Phil Woods is getting tired of seeing me up here. But I'd like to remind Phil that nobody asked him to do it. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you and our club to John Hilliard. John is a graduate of Concord High School in California. He attended Cal State Sacramento, where he earned his BS in Business Administration, and Trinity College of the Bible, where he earned his MA in Biblical Leadership and Management. He is the owner and a life coach at John Hilliard Life Coaching. He previously served as a captain in the U.S. Air Force. His community service includes he is a board member of the York County Food Bank. He is a board member for Mountain Springs Camp. He is an elder at Living Word Community Church, and he is a board member for Friends of Project Adopt a Village. His hobbies include gardening and reading, and his wife is Joanne. They have 3 adult children, Michelle, Peter, and Mary, and also 7 grandchildren. John is a previous Rotarian. He was a member of the Weed Rotary Club near Mount Shasta, California. And I thought maybe they were a little ahead of their time being called the Weed Rotary Club, but it is California, so go figure. He was also a member of the East York Rotary Club from 2003 to 2007, and he's a Paul Harris Fellow. His proposer is Andy Siebold. Ladies and gentlemen, fellow Rotarians, John Hilliard.
John, as you know from being a previous Rotarian, that your engagement in the club, getting involved in membership, meeting members is how you'll really feel fulfilled by your time here. Welcome. We're so glad you're with us. And now I would like to read 2 resolutions of respect in honor and memory of Rotarian Keith A. Smith, who passed away in December, and also Al Hayes, who passed away earlier this month. We'll begin with Keith. Whereas Keith A. Smith was born on October 30th, 1969 in Hanover, Pennsylvania, the son of Raymond and Rose Smith. And whereas Keith A. Smith graduated Gettysburg High School and earned a BS in engineering from the Pennsylvania State University. And whereas Keith A. Smith supported local efforts to foster engineering and math skills within the school districts of York. And whereas Keith A. Smith was a member of the Rotary Club of York since 2016, enjoying service and fellowship with his fellow Rotarians. And whereas Keith A. Smith was the husband of Darla Smith for 24 years and father to Carter Smith and Zachary Smith. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors, officers, and members of the Rotary Club of York on this 13th day of January 2022 express their deepest sympathies to the family of Keith A. Smith. Be it further resolved that this resolution of respect be forwarded to the family of Keith A. Smith on this day. Whereas Alvin B. Hayes was born March 2nd, 1933 in Baltimore, Maryland, son of the late William F. and Frederica Hayes. And whereas Alvin B. Hayes served from 1952 to 1955 in the United States Army and Germany for the Army Security Agency. And whereas Alvin B. Hayes was active in many organizations in the community, including serving as treasurer of the York Industrial Development Authority, serving as trustee at Chestnut Grove United Methodist Church, Dillsburg, and an active Lions Club member for more than 50 years. Whereas Alvin B. Hayes was a member of the Rotary Club of York since 1996, enjoying attending the Wednesday lunch meetings regularly, making them an important part of his week, and enjoying the fellowship with his fellow Rotarians, and was a 4 Sapphire Paul Harris Fellow. And whereas Alvin B. Hayes was the partner of Geraldine Hawley and father to Gary M. Hayes and Scott Reichard, and grandfather, great-grandfather, and great-great-grandfather, he was preceded in death by his wife, Donna E. Hayes. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Directors, officers, and members of the Rotary Club of York on this 13th day of January 2022 express their deepest sympathies to the family of Alvin B. Hayes. Be it further resolved that this resolution of respect be forwarded to the family of Alvin B. Hayes on this day. As you know, Al was with us several months ago to introduce our program that day and collapsed in our ballroom. Many people jumped to his aid and sprung into action when that happened. You also know that Al recovered for a time and was actually discharged and was able to be at home until he was readmitted to the hospital where he eventually passed away. But he had a plan to join us probably today because he wanted to thank three people who jumped up and offered assistance to him that day. And it meant so much to him. He wanted to present them with a Paul Harris Fellow in person. And sadly, that didn't happen, but we want to honor his wishes and we want to present those awards now. And so at this time, I would like to invite Ellie Williams, Diane Marino, and past District Governor Ben Hoover to come forward, and Foundation Chair Bill Hartman will assist me in presenting these pins. Ellie, Al would like you to have your first Paul Harris Fellow. Congratulations. Diane, Al wanted you to have your Paul Harris Fellow +1 Sapphire. Congratulations. And past District Governor Ben Hoover, you are being awarded with your Paul Harris Fellow +6 Sapphire pins. Congratulations. So we do have a fourth that we want to present, and this is a surprise to him. But Al would have received his Paul Harris Fellow +4 Sapphires today. And since he couldn't be with us, we know there's no one he would rather receive this than his son, Gary Hayes. So Gary, I would ask you to come forward to receive this Paul Harris Fellow pin. Congratulations. Thank you all. I think you know that you meant a great deal to Al, and I know he's with us in spirit and smiling down, laughing with all of you. Thank you so much. At this time, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Jules Tolbert to introduce our program.
Thank you, Jackie. Well, good afternoon. As the chairman of the board for the York Business Improvement District Authority, I have closely watched how downtown businesses have faced the challenges of COVID over the last 2 years. And while there have certainly been challenges and indeed some losses, an interesting metric is that there are over 40 new or expanded businesses in downtown during that time. And that's a net number. And we have suffered fewer business losses than other similar cities. Many entities have worked to assist those businesses, City of York, the county, the York County Economic Alliance, and Downtown Inc. But if there's one person that is most significant in this effort, it's Sully Pinos. Sully serves as the Director of Business Solutions and Innovation for the York County Economic Alliance. She's a native of Brooklyn, New York, but found her way to York County, where she's made her home for nearly 10 years. That's like 1/3 of her life. In her role with YCA, Sully oversees a variety of business outreach and engagement, including oversight of the YCA's Women's Business Center and its Pathways to Prosperity, which is our countywide workforce development initiative. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Sully has been on the front lines of economic support for our community. She's overseen the deployment of nearly $30 million in small business support allocated by federal, state, and/or county governments to aid over 1,900 small businesses in York County. Importantly, it was through the strategic outreach efforts by the YCA that over 34% of these funds were dispersed to businesses owned by persons of color, over 38% granted to women-owned businesses, and 7% to veteran-owned businesses. Sully will continue this business support by leading the YCA's new Bloom Empowerment Center. York County's Economic Action Plan, published a year ago, showed that despite certain successes, York County lags the state and national average in the birth rate for new small businesses. Enter the Bloom Empowerment Center, a new initiative of York County Economic Alliance, supported by various stakeholders and community partners. It boasts a suite of small business support services to launch, grow, and propel small businesses forward in York County. Bloom will do this by providing greater support and access to capital for small business grants and loans, education, and opportunity. The Bloom Empowerment Center will provide resources county-wide with a targeted and strategic focus to grow small businesses and businesses owned by women and individuals of color in our small communities across York County. Sully serves on the board of directors for the YWCA, the York County Hispanic Coalition, York County Literacy Council, and York County Alliance for Learning. She resides in the city of York's historic Doctors Row. Thus, she has the quickest commute of any employee of YCA, less than a block away. She has 2 dogs, Rita and Champion, and is actively working to convince her mother to move to York City, which Sully contends will happen someday. And I'll just note, if the number of people who are here to support Sully are any indication, she's off to a great start in this new endeavor. Sully.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Jules. I did have note in my notes to make a quick note that I saw that this Rotary is the 26th largest Rotary with all of the guests here, which thank you everyone, the team, the board, all of the businesses that have gone through Bloom. It might be the 27th largest Rotary just for today only. So again, my name is Sully Pinos, and with the YCA and the Bloom Empowerment Center, thrilled to share with you an overview, a high-level overview over the last few years and really how all of these efforts across the county have helped us to bloom in this new idea of the Bloom Empowerment Center. We'll also see how many times I can insert the word Bloom into my presentation this afternoon. And I also want to thank you because you're our first set of eyes and ears as we take this public with the Bloom Empowerment Center. So you are all officially our original pair of bloomers. So thank you for that. And look forward to answering any and all of your questions this afternoon. So again, taking you through over the last 4 years within the organization's economic development, strategic development, from looking internally and some of the diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, all of the great work that has taken place over the last few years with partners from the Confronting Racism Coalition. And needless to say, as Jules mentioned, over the last 2 years, the organization, we've been incredibly proud to be on the front lines of small business support and recovery with a mindset of inclusivity and supporting businesses owned by persons of color and women-owned businesses, and all that that has bloomed into in the future. I'll quickly also mention the work of the county's economic action plan, which I know the Rotary heard of a presentation a few months ago, and all of its work over the next 10 years. And then lastly, one of the key efforts within the Federal Reserve Bank, which has been a national fellowship, which has all helped us to align all of these practices and strategies to help small businesses grow and thrive in York County. This with the Federal Reserve, I did want to mention, as it's a national program, there are cohorts from Las Vegas to New Jersey, and we're so happy to be a part of that. And some of you are here in this room that have been there. So as we take Bloom forward, maybe next time we'll have to connect with the Las Vegas Rotary and to present there. But again, really great efforts that have all helped us get to where we are today with the Bloom Empowerment Center. As Jules mentioned, over the last 2 years, all of the work to provide direct support, and it wouldn't be done with all the team that's here in this room and all of the supporters and partners that went door to door to share information with businesses. This is a snapshot of just the last 18 months in providing direct relief in by way of grants, not having businesses accrue additional debt against their business, but providing them with the support in a make or break moment over the last 18 months. We've heard from businesses since then of how the funds have helped them to keep their doors open, maybe hire, keep their employees, which is incredibly important to our economic outlook, and be better prepared for what's ahead. Right now, we're in our second round of Restart funds, where we are awarding over $6 million to businesses, and collectively over the last 18 months, close to $30 million has gone out to York County businesses. And again, this is just a snapshot of the reach of businesses, well over 60 municipalities of 70 out of 72 here. And then I'll just go back here into the slide as we look to the data. This was an opportunity for us to test some of our hypotheses and leverage some of the data from the Economic Action Plan in identifying and seeing the data that we heard nationally from small businesses owned by minorities and women and startup businesses that were excluded from traditional forms of loan and capital when the first round of PPP loans were distributed. This was a way to really prioritize those businesses and priority sectors from hospitality, personal care, construction, childcare, prioritize those sectors so that they can continue to remain here in York County. All of these businesses have a story. All of these businesses have had a livelihood here in York County, and it was incumbent on us and all of the partners to continue to provide that support, which again was incredibly supported by the county commissioners in allocating those funds, as well as our state elected officials. So as we quickly showed, just the reach of these programs also tested that we can, when it comes to coordinating outreach strategies, we can take this across the county. It won't just be into one part of the community. We can coordinate and deploy teams in various areas. We can deploy teams that can reach businesses that where English may not be their native language. We can go out and really share all of the resources, not just on a COVID relief emergency basis, but on an ongoing basis, and really build on those touch points to follow along the business life cycle and help those businesses celebrate their milestones, whether they're celebrating 2 years of their business being open, or maybe they're part of a really great initiative like our county's trail towns, and they've become a trail-friendly business place. So how can we as an organization really leverage all of our resources to continue to celebrate the businesses here? As I shared with the county's economic action plan, this was a once in every 10 years plan and opportunity for the county to develop its comprehensive plan. This is a very dynamic, very data-driven report, which again, I know that it's familiar to the Rotary as it had a presentation at the end of last year, but this is 10 years moving forward. What are those opportunities? What are the opportunities within entrepreneurship, economic mobility, how to drive the engines of prosperity further along here in the county? But also unique to this plan is that it was built on the pillars of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and in providing opportunities and access for all. And it wouldn't be done without all of the hours and over 1,000 stakeholders that participated through this process to share their direct feedback. And again, with the help of partners from Fourth Economy, really identifying some of the gaps, and again, the case for support as to why something like the Bloom Empowerment Center will be impactful for the county. We identified that York County lags the state and national average in terms of business birth rate. But as we look to women and minority-owned businesses, York County significantly lacks and falls behind that benchmark. So we know as an immediate goal, York County needs to not only meet, but exceed the business birth rate for women and minority-owned businesses. And one way to do that is through the Bloom Empowerment Center and providing all of the resources from grants, technical assistance, being a listening ear for a business owner that just has a question, and a text can make a huge difference. So all of these things with the county's economic action plan, the recommendations, these tangible steps on how to move the county forward over the next 10 years, plus the the recommendations from county community plans such as the Confronting Racism really help to add up to this great equation of something like the Bloom Empowerment Center and where there's a position for this across the county. That plus all of the work that has been taking place over the last years is really what gets us into the concept of the Bloom Empowerment Center, where collectively this is an opportunity to provide a comprehensive suite of services and technical support. Again, this builds on existing resources, existing data, existing partnerships, all geared with supporting small businesses to then meet and exceed the business birth rate goals that I shared with you in the slides before. We know that we need to do a better job in supporting businesses owned by persons of color and women-owned businesses and making sure that they have the resources, the support, and eliminate the barriers for them so that they can continue to grow and celebrate 5-year milestones, 10-year milestones, eventually transition their business into a family member or sell it to someone else. We want to be part of that business's life cycle. So Bloom Empowerment Center will build on a suite of services. There's handouts on your table and some lovely swag, notepads and pens, but the suite of services gives you a quick overview as to what we have already offered in terms of the resources from grants that we offered. Most recently, our Women's Business Center awarded $10,000 to women-owned businesses in the county. I know one of them is here with us today as our guest. And this is just another way, another resource in the toolkit of services for small businesses in the county. We've had a great success with our small business series with partners such as Susquehanna Score and Fulton Bank. And one of the newer resources or tools within this suite of service will be an opportunity for our organization to grow and to apply to become a community development finance institution or a nonprofit bank. This is another resource to provide a clear pipeline or a clear pathway to capital for small businesses across York County, with a target footprint, again, of the entire county, with specific targets in serving women and minority-owned businesses across the city and some of the low to moderate income census tracts and communities. But this is a way where a CDFI loan can be a pipeline, a resource for a small business owner, but it can also complement and work with traditional forms of loans from banks and other sources. So as we shared with the CDFI, the goal is to share this across the county and really attract and build a pipeline of businesses that may have gone through the classes. Maybe they were some of the businesses that received a Restart grant or any other, have interacted with our organization in some way, and now they are better positioned to pursue a loan. And maybe a few years later, they'll come back and be a mentor and be an instructor in one of the business classes. So we also want to guide the small businesses to pay it forward within their own communities and be the examples and the role models for other entrepreneurs in their community. As we look to all of these efforts, none of this can be done in a silo. In fact, as we shared economic action plan, all of the data and recommendations looks to a bevy of partners, many that are here. And this graphic just portrays the life cycle of a business owner, which I'm sure if we ask the business owners, this is not a clear line of how a business cycle goes. I'm sure there are some ups and downs and some challenges, but we want to be prepared for those challenges. And in order to do so, we need to know what could some of those barriers be. So we've held a series of small business focus sessions over the last few months to get that direct feedback from the business owners and create these programs and create these supports with their best interests and direct feedback in mind. And many of these partners are already here, have established a presence in the county. This is just another way to strengthen York County's economic and entrepreneurial outlook and really be a destination for businesses to grow and continue and thrive. So I'm just gonna go here. So as we look to how will we measure this, we want to look at areas of impactful, again, following the business owner and being able to capture their stories, follow them along their growth and all of their experiences. And with the suite of services, we have clear, tangible ways to track that growth and track those interactions and identifying how many grants will we award in any year. I know this year we're looking, we have a series of Bloom grants that will be going out. So how can we really track that information, capture demographics, and position all of that data to show the impact and the success 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We also want to look and identify how many mentors can we build through these programs and additional supports where there might be a gap or there might be a really phenomenal contractor that wants to give back and teach other contractors the steps that he took to get his business started. So how can we really provide the conduits and systems of support for that? And as we look to Bloom and Bloom currently and what has taken place over the last few years, we've been able to award close to 300,000 in non-COVID relief form. That slide you saw earlier was just specific to COVID. These funds here, almost 300,000 awarded to small businesses across the county, where clearly over 50% of those recipients were business owners, business owners of color or women-owned businesses, which again meet the goals of our Bloom Empowerment Center and give us the confidence that we can go out and reach different parts of the county, build on the relationships, and also and continue to build on the trust that has been established with some of the business owners and be that ally and ally for support. We've, as I mentioned, one of our most recent Bloom rounds was our Women's Business Center, where with our Women's Business Center, we awarded 6 grants. We're looking forward to award many more this year. And just an additional resource, these are very micro grant to address things such as marketing needs, maybe some signage, really small tangible emergency needs to provide funding for that businesses would not have a way to secure this funding or secure this be able to meet their goal and their project. One of the other exciting data points that we'd like to share and celebrate with you all is that we resumed our small business classes last year. We were able to conduct 3 rounds, all virtual, which also tested for us, could we conduct Bloom on a virtual basis? How can we, again, reach more businesses at their time, reach businesses where they were, and having classes in the evening where we could see family members also joining us via Zoom, offering our offices as for computer labs if a business owner needed. But this also showed us that we could attract businesses outside of York County. We had participants as far as Pittsburgh and down to Maryland joining us on a weekly basis. And all of these individuals that had perfect attendance have now been invited to apply for one of our Bloom grants. These classes are offered at absolutely no cost. And it is bringing all of the resources from SCORE, accountants, attorneys, all of these experts that can provide that direct resource for the businesses and making that connection. But most importantly, all of these business owners were building cohorts and communities amongst themselves. And many of them have continued outside of the virtual classroom. And we look forward to bringing back these classes virtually, in person, hopefully in the future, and expand into various topics from growth and maintenance to really honing in on some specific topics of financial literacy and educational well-being. And some of the guests that we have here are some of our graduates. So I'm just going to do a quick shout out. If you are one of our graduates from any of our small business classes, if you could just raise your hand or stand up really quickly, just so that, there you go. Thank you, guys. So as we celebrate all of you, and we're here to celebrate the Bloom Empowerment Center and what it's to become and all of the data and work that's led us to this moment, we are incredibly excited and elated to share that to carry the mission of the Bloom Empowerment Center forward for many years to come, we have been able to raise 1.75 million to carry out by way of Bloom loans and grants and provide ongoing technical support. This will include the official launch. Again, this is one of our very first presentations, so thank you for being our original Bloomers. And again, as we try to really grow and expand the suite of services by way of Bloom grants and loans, bringing back the small business classes to reach more businesses, having classes just for women-owned businesses, having classes in Spanish, having classes on the weekends. We have that flexibility capacity, and we certainly have that support now with having 1.7 officially raised to carry the mission of the Bloom Empowerment Center forward. We also are looking forward to submitting our application to become a CDFI and help to process some of those loans out. And look forward to sharing with all of you the progress and the growth of the Bloom Empowerment Center, and hope that you'll all follow and help share this across various networks and platforms, or maybe be sign up to become one of the mentors or an instructor or a resource for any of these small businesses. I know between the Susquehanna SCORE and all of the partners here, there's so many great resources, and we're just here to help expose that and elevate that for our small businesses in the county. So we look forward to a more formal announcement in February. So please save the date. We can certainly extend that invitation. And this support would not be possible without the very generous and impactful support from the Powder Mill Foundation, Michael Haiti, and the Wareheim Foundation, Mr. Meckley, and the York County Community Foundation for believing in the Bloom Empowerment Center and the need to support small businesses, in particular, women-owned businesses and businesses owned by persons of color. So thank you very much for your support. And as we come towards the end, again, just showing, this is a quick snapshot of the support that the Bloom Empowerment Center has already received in some iteration, whether a business instructor, whether someone that has counseled or offered mentorship to another business owner. These are all the organizations that have already said, we are here, we are ready to help Bloom move forward, but most importantly, we are here to help all of these small businesses continue to grow and thrive in York County. And behind each of these businesses is a story, and it's a great, an individual that's committed to their community, that has seen a challenge or has a passion, and York is their home. So we are very proud that they have trusted us to help them along that journey. And so I will just play, if you'll indulge us with a quick video, one of our small business graduates sharing from his own words about the Bloom Empowerment Center.
My name is Joshua Santiago, owner of CNP Media. CNP Media was created to make filmmaking accessible to the residents of York City. In the future, we plan to do podcasting, audio production, print media, music production, etc. So the Bloom courses helped me with the financial aspects of running a business. Me just wanting to just be a creative, but then wanting to run a business, I really needed help in that aspect, such as bookkeeping, taxes, Schedule C, stuff like that. I didn't know anything about that until I took this course. The person that really explained it really good was Michael Dowry. When he spoke in the course, we actually had an extra course, I think it was on like a Sunday, and he was there for about 2 hours getting more in depth about the finances of running your own business. So the Bloom grant helped us get equipment for the classes that we're doing now. Currently, we have a class teaching kids at Creative York how to filmmake, and we got a lot of stuff that we needed with the amount of money that was awarded to us. So the YCEA team has helped me in many ways, such as they supported my event, they helped me with grants, they offer free classes and resources, and through YCEA, I made a lot of personal connections that I will use for years to come.
And again, with this, following the vision of the Bloom Empowerment Center and offering that direct technical support so that Josh, businesses that are here, many other businesses across the county can see that there's a community that's here to stand behind them and help them grow, connect with resources, whether that's forms of capital, whether that's mentorship, whether that's just someone listening to them with a question or a problem or a challenge that they have that day. That is really the collective vision of the Bloom Empowerment Center. So I thank you for your time and your attention this afternoon, and happy to answer any questions and encourage you to be part of Bloom. Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions. Oh, this is like an auction. Okay. A CDFI, thank you for reminding me. So CDFI, an acronym for Community Development Finance Institution. It's a nonprofit bank. So another example of a CDFI in York County or that provides services in York County may be Community First Fund. So these are nonprofit forms of capital for businesses by way of loans. Thank you. Absolutely. Short answer is yes. All of you here? Oh, sure. So Bobby's question was about what could other businesses do to become engaged within Bloom, and also asking about the Federal Reserve and what does that mean? What does that entail? Short answer is absolutely everyone in this room can be part of Bloom, and we hope that you will be part of Bloom in some way, shape, or form. There are flyers there with information, contact, what's to come between our grants, our small business classes. If you find yourself that you're very interested in numbers and you will have some time to give back to business owners where they might be juggling a million things and numbers may not be their strength or what they're able to do at that moment, that time is, that incredible volunteer time is going to be so impactful for a business owner. And there are many business owners, as we're meeting with them and interacting, where we're identifying what their needs are, but looking to all of the resources that are out there, whether it's looking for equity capital, looking for mentorship, and providing them with customized plans, and then following up with them so that we're almost building this portfolio of all of the interactions with the business and following them along. And the Federal Reserve, it's a 9-month-long fellowship program that York County received as a designation between communities of Las Vegas to New Jersey and beyond, all receiving national training on small business recovery with a racial equity lens. So the theories and the recommendations of the Bloom Empowerment Center have an opportunity to be tested out and to hear and receive national support from. So we're hearing from other communities that are reaching out because they want to learn what York's steps have been to become a CDFI. What's York steps to become a Bloom Empowerment Center? How are all of these resources available? And I know we have one of the cohort members with Mr. Haiti and Powder Mill, all trying to bring county-wide resources together to learn from these national experts. So thank you.
Hey, Sully, we have about 40 people joining us online, Rotarians joining us online today. Here's a question from that online audience. John asks, how will you ensure that you reach businesses across the county?
Great. Thank you. Thank you, John, for asking that. Again, as we've been able to test and pilot forms of outreach in maybe non-traditional times, nights and weekends, going out to visit businesses where they are, going door to door, and maybe not just myself or any of our team members, but looking into those communities. We have fantastic initiatives that have leveraged across the county, from York County Trail Towns, and building community teams in each of those areas where they're the ones going out to advocate for programs and resources and have a more familiar face and more familiar impact. So really looking to all of those relationships and the partnerships there to expand our reach across the county. For at least the last 4 or 5 years, and kind of the last 2 years, if you're a fan of Marvel and the Avengers, that blip that just happened and 2 years have gone by. Here we are really having we've had an opportunity to test out some of those recommendations and some of the practices. And frankly, some of this has been expedited because of the pandemic and the need to provide support for small businesses. So it's been a great way to really cement some great outreach partnerships. So there's a question. There you go. Thank you. My team member over here, I might have to give her credit. Marlena gave me a fantastic list of Bloom puns. One of them was Jeff Goldblum. So please, but we will add that to the list. Thank you.
What communities around the country have you researched that are comparable in size that have really been successful?
Absolutely. So looking to as far as the other side of the Susquehanna, into communities as Lancaster, they have organizations like Assets that are a CDFI that are providing that direct technical support for small businesses and entrepreneurs that might come from underrepresented or minority communities. So that's as close as an example as I'll share. And the Federal Reserve Bank, that's an opportunity to connect with. We've been working with Broward County in Florida in sharing some of these practices and again, leveraging the recommendations from the Economic Action Plan, where they're seeing how the loans are a great pipeline into connecting the businesses to more technical support, more classes, more mentorship, and ultimately leading to the business's duration or extended duration within within the county. So, thank you. With that, I think I'll turn it back to Jackie. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Sully. That was wonderful. And we are delighted to be your first bloomers. And also thank you for recognizing us as the 26th largest club in the world. There are 36,000 Rotary clubs around the world. And we in York County truly are a people of action. We here at Rotary are truly a people of action. And it's largely due to the passion that you all share for what's happening right here in our backyard and your willingness to step up and get involved. We love what you're doing with that program, and we wish you much continued success. The same to you, Kevin, and to Silas and your team. Great work. Sully honored us by signing the book plate, The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read by Rita Lorraine Hubbard, which will be presented to Martin Library. I would also like, before we close, just to recognize we have a brand new city councilwoman with us today. And so I would like to introduce Felicia Dennis, if you could stand up and wave, who was just sworn in. Congratulations. And all the best to you. Much success. Glad to have you. As a reminder, next week, our meeting will be offsite at Keystone Kids Space on 10 East Hamilton Avenue. Please get your reservations into the office as soon as you can for yourselves, as well as any guests you might be bringing. And there's plenty of parking nearby at Smalls Field. In closing, our quote today is by George Bernard Shaw. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community, and as long as I live, it is my privilege to do for it whatever I can. I want to be thoroughly used up when I die, for the harder I work, the more I live. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. This meeting is adjourned.